Yep.
You'll read the one and we'll talk about it. You read the second one, we'll talk about it.
Do you have a preference in what order? I mean, I don't. I guess I don't even have them listed in a. I mean, I guess I didn't even think of them in a
Doesn't matter.
like. This is my most wanted. Okay, cool.
Whatever you
Okay.
want to do. This is the Jason Lacy
Okay.
show. This is whatever
Well,
you want to do, Jason.
life.
Just act like I'm not even here, man. Just do your thing.
That's impossible.
I would say treat it like it's Fluxtaposed, but I don't know. This is a good.
You
show.
want people to listen to
exactly.
this.
It's a good show.
We're trying to build the brand here, right?
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nintendo Talk. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, joined by the former host, co-host, whatever he was of If We Ran Nintendo, dear friend of mine, Mr. Jason Lacy. What is up, sir?
Bobby!
How you doing, buddy?
It's you!
It is me. It's you, too. Yeah, man. We're just missing Capri. And then
No, we don't. We don't need the Capri Show right now. I mean, the guy, I mean, he's shaking hands with Phil Spencer. He's driving around his car. He's like, oh, Nintendo Canada, Xbox Canada, everyone loves me. I mean, he doesn't need us to inflate him.
Trust me, I know. I know this all too well.
You got to rein him in. I mean,
well, give it time. Give it time. I'm going to fire him from If We Ran Nintendo, and then the world be right. Already. I've done it once already to him. It's coming again. Joseph Moran, get ready, because I'm going to need you.
Oh yeah, I'm going back out to the big league.
Exactly. And then the show just crash and burn after that. Because, whatever. Anyway. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's never too soon. It's never too soon. So if you've been following along at all with what we're doing here, we have been spending the week, and we're going to spend next week as well, essentially just getting different YouTubers and podcasters to come on and discuss what they want, what they hope will come out of Breath of the Wild 2. So this week we have Jason Lacy, and essentially this was something that I have my list immediately, and I was like, Lacy's got to be on this list. You know what I mean? Like, you are
listeners. I've arrived.
Stop!
I have arrived. Yes.
Stop.
Validation.
Stop?
Yes.
Oh man, what is wrong with you? Anyway, Jason, let's kick this episode off like we do each and every episode with the Geek Outs.
Geek Outs, Bobby, Geek Outs.
You've never done Geek Outs before, have you? I mean, unless
no.
Sean would just try to take it over.
I've done, I did the Capri variant, but not the proper, the official, the authentic.
Okay, you just stopped talking. I coughed. That don't mean you stopped talking.
I was just. I'm worried about you.
I muted myself. You can hear it, but the people can't hear it.
Damn, you are professional.
I try, man. I can't. You know what I mean, like, this isn't Backlog Busters. We gotta keep it. I just recorded with them. That's the only reason I said that.
That's fair. Well, now I'll roll through it like nothing happened.
Can I tell you something before we get into this? I literally just recorded with them. Jeremy is in a bathroom at some hotel, right? He's got. I come into the call. And he's got his glasses on, and he's got earbuds, the Apple wired earbuds, right? And one's in his ear, and then where the microphone is, right? It's wrapped around his glasses, right? So that the microphone is right here by his mouth.
So it's like dangling.
Yeah, and I'm like, but the wire's going like through his glasses and stuff like this. This is how he's recording, like this, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what did I just come into?
Oh my god, I love it.
It's insane. It's insane.
I love it.
But I don't think they do video, right? It's just audio with them.
Yeah, they just do audio. But
That's
please tell me you're releasing video.
I wish I would have. I wish I would have recorded it, but it was Google Hangouts. I couldn't record it.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Oh, I should have snapped a picture of it and tweeted it. It was the most hideous looking thing I've ever. Anyway. Sir, what are you geeking out
That was a good
about?
geek out. That was a good geek out.
Great geek out, right?
This was really easy for me. You came to me today and you're like, be prepared. You need to have a geek out ready for tonight. I was like, got it. Yeah. Bobby, I'm happy to say, for the first time, it feels like for the first time in 6 years that my wife and I have been married, We are going on vacation.
Get out.
Hallelujah. I am going on vacation.
Wait, yeah, but are you... Wait, you guys never go on vacation? Dude... So you were lying to me and showing all those times. All those times when you were like, I had not been able to record this week because I got to...
That's visiting family. I don't consider that vacation.
Okay.
So, no, we did take a trip. We do take a trip every year to see her grandma. Okay. And we're gone for 4 or 5 days. Okay. But I mean, like a honest, like proper get out of town for extended. Like
by yourselves.
we did like some small trips like for our anniversary and stuff, but I think nothing significant since our honeymoon. Yeah. So finally we're like, we've sunk money. Like, I live pretty frivolously. Yeah. So we sunk all this money. Well, not all this money, but we invested money in the house because we've been thinking about test the market and reselling. Mm-hmm. And finally, I was like, I still got 80 hours of vacation to use up before the end of the year. I've already taken time off for the holidays, and I've got that planned out. And then she's like, we should take a trip this summer. I was like, yeah, I guess. Yeah, probably. And so then she's all of a sudden, later that day, I was like, you know what? Should I take the 5th of July off? Are we doing anything? Should I just take a long weekend? We can, take our son to see the family, do some parades, and then all of a sudden later she's like, so what do you think about taking this trip? And I don't know why I'm asking you because I already booked it. It's like, oh, okay. So we are going to it's part of northern Michigan. It's Mackinac Island. I don't know if you're
never heard of it.
Familiar. So it's a pretty large island, and it's in between the Upper Peninsula and the Lower Peninsula of Michigan, and it's a pretty cool place. It's got a lot of historic properties to it, but it's also what it's probably most famous for is they don't allow motorized vehicles on the island. So everyone there are some people that live there, but it's mostly, a tourist destination. But I mean, everybody gets around by horse or bicycle. And I've gone there since I was a kid. We used to like to go every, once a summer, but it's been harder since we had our son. So this will be the first time we'll be taking our son there. We're staying at this sweet hotel on the island, and it's gonna be nice to get away from work 5 days. We're going from the 8th of July through the 12th, and I am going to have to do payroll while I'm up there. I have to work 1 day because nobody can do payroll while I'm gone, and I kind of want to get paid too. Yeah, so that's necessary evil, but I can't wait to
That's pretty awesome.
It's for once it's to not worry about for once it's I'm always we shouldn't spend the money, and then this time it's just F it, let's just do it.
Dude, I'm with you. That's how it's kind of how I've been since the divorce. When I was with Tony, I was like, I don't know. We shouldn't spend the money on this. We shouldn't spend the money on that. I mean, I still spent money. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? I bought games and all that. But, as far as, doing stuff. And then, when we got divorced, I was like, you know what? For so long, I just kind of was, holding back. And I'm like, I'm spending money on me, man. Enough of this nonsense. So I got the car. And that was probably the biggest purchase I've done in so long, But the nice thing was I actually have been fixing my credit.
Good.
Massively. Massive jumps. In a year, jumped over 120 points. And
awesome.
Yeah, it's huge. So it's every time I turn around, I'm getting credit card offers. And not that I took a couple up just because I wanted better credit. You start out with the crappy ones and you're just trying to build, and then now I got better ones with higher, and then I'm gonna basically just get rid of the little ones because I'm not paying you to have a credit card. That's not gonna happen. So the newer ones eliminated. There's no fees or whatever. I actually applied. This is the first time ever I've done this, that I've been able to do this in a long time. I actually went to Apple. I was like, I'm gonna buy a new Mac, and I went through and I built the computer and I applied. They didn't give me all the money, but they gave me $2,000, and I was like, this never would have happened years ago. You know what I mean? So I didn't buy the computer because I'm like, I want to save a little bit more before. I want to put good in cash down and then the rest. But dude, it's been unbelievable, man. It's been such an amazing debate in buying a dog. So that's a thing. Maybe
I'll sell you mine.
No. What kind of dog you have?
I don't even know. I'll be honest, I don't know.
I definitely don't want that then.
We rescued him and we don't know. He's definitely mixed breeds, but we're not. We think he's part Chihuahua, part some sort of spaniel.
Yeah, no. I want a Shorkie because that's what I had with Tony, and I don't get to see the dog no more. So I'm like, I miss him, so I'm like, I would like to have similar dog. Hopefully, he has the same like mentality. I want to go to the same breeder, so that way I know like she's a good breeder and all that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the money, man. It's like, oof.
Oh, it's
yeah. It's like 2,500, 2,700. I'm like,
yeah.
Mac computer, dog.
Dog.
So back and forth in my head. I'm like, oof.
The dog's gonna continue to cost me more money. The Macs shouldn't.
Yeah, because you got vet bills, but you know what, man? It's just like you come home and it's like
you got a companion, and
the dog brings that life to the house, you know, and it's like one of those things that, like, you know. Anyway, people are right now going like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, right.
Listen, me and Jason haven't talked in a while. This is that's awesome, though. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's jump into this. And we'll just throw it out there. Give us your first thing that you want or would like to see brought over or new or something you want to see in Breath of the Wild 2.
Like, for me, like the first thing that I think of, and it kind of reminds me of what I got so excited for with Breath of the Wild originally when that first was announced and once we started getting details. Once we got this announcement, I immediately started falling back in the YouTube rabbit hole. Is I'm just looking forward to continue to see this lore of Zelda built. Yeah. And for this game, here's my thing. You know, the timeline's one thing, and it's a convoluted mess. And let's face it, the timeline exists because this franchise has existed through a time period where story and a big picture story was never a concept that was going to be followed. And now it's like, well, how do we connect? People want these games to be connected. How can we do that to make sense? And then finally later on, like, okay, here's the pathway. So what I want to see is I want to kind of get some more definitive with where does this game connect in some way, or the way I'm almost leaning for now, I hope it just continues just to go and set its own path and pretend like almost like nothing else, it does not exist. Yeah. And it gets to forge its own thing. Because I remember with Breath of the Wild, like the thing that like hinged on me so much is when all we heard was like from the trailers with like the king telling Link he's going to find out, you're ready to hear what happened 100 years ago. I was like, oh, what? And for me, I was like, oh, does this connect to one of the other games? And this takes 100 place, 100 years later. And then that wasn't quite the case. But I just want to find, like, especially with, this is Ganondorf, and is this going to be a connection to Twilight Princess or this and that? I'm excited to hear that, but I want to have more inside the game itself via text that you find or ruins you explore. I want more things in game that build this world and that the player is allowed to discover. Maybe that's through a quest line or just your interaction with the NPCs. This trailer, I can't believe how much this trailer got me it just invoked that fire in me for that side of Zelda. And I don't know. It's always been something that I can get really into.
It's okay. So the Zelda lore is very weird.
Yes.
In terms of the concept of it is every 100, 200 years, this kid, this hero emerges and fights off the demon or whatever it is that's coming to destroy the world. So in theory, every Zelda just takes place in the same Hyrule of theory or whatever, and you're kind of history's repeating itself over and over and over again. But this one, I felt like when I played at times, I felt like that, where you'd hit certain areas and it was like, wait a minute, this feels like this game, or like Tingle Island. Like, that's the first time that I can remember that, like, since Wind Waker, we've actually had Tingle referenced in a Zelda game. Like, that this character or exists in this world. And even though he wasn't out there or whatever, it was kind of like, okay, so in theory, this is where he would be, or where he started, and maybe the waters receded or whatever, or maybe the waters haven't risen yet. Like, it's this pre-Wind Waker, it's this post-Wind Waker. Like, where exactly does this game fall within the timeline? But I'm kind of the same mindset of just let this kind of be its own thing.
Let it retcon things a little bit and just do.
Like the thing of it is like we haven't had a proper sequel to a Zelda game, like a true like this is 1, this is 2. I mean, what's the last one? I mean, Zelda 1, Zelda 2.
Zelda 1, Zelda 2. I mean, technically, you can look at what Spirit Tracks and
they were so bad. They were so bad. But were they really direct sequels?
I think they were continuations of the story because you had Link and Zelda. Like I never played them, but like traveling the ocean, searching for this new home. Because Spirit Tracks was the last one because that's where they had the train. And that's when they were founding Hyrule. I can't remember I can't think of the name.
I tried them both,
one before
I just was not a fan of those games. The one he used a stylus the whole time. I was like, oh come on, man, this is not a Zelda game. Let me use the buttons. But I mean, and I was saying this last night to Donnie, what I felt like essentially is the original Zelda, and I've said this to numerous people, you're going to hear it one more time. I felt like the original Zelda, this Breath of the Wild resembled the original Zelda quite a bit. I would like to see if they did kind of push off of some story plot points of Zelda 2 for this one. But I have a feeling this is going to kind of go Link to the Past. Where we go kind of like Dark World, Light World type thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, time will tell. Who knows?
Yeah.
Exactly
I mean, you kind of think it has to do something like that because if this is what we appear is taking place shortly after the events of Breath of the Wild, the overworld, if we want to consider that, there shouldn't be much going on there.
Yeah.
Technically, I mean, at this point, you vanquish, Ganon, so I would think his armies are inactive.
Yeah.
You've done the shrines. There's nothing. You need to have something to adventure into. So, having a parallel universe, so to speak, would make sense for something like that. I mean, continuing with the lore, whole idea. I think it's just exciting for me I think we're going to have if this is, and all signs are pointing to Ganondorf again, because I think he's just much more of an exciting villain for me than Ganon. And like Ganon's just this entity of pure evil and destruction, but Ganondorf's a man, for lack of a better word. He's plotting, he's cunning, he's a much more of an adversary than just a threat.
But so also at the same time, like, we don't know if what we're seeing in the trailers is legit.
Right.
It could just be like a flashback. It could be like just something where it's a dream. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole sequence could have just been a dream.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely true. We have no idea.
Yeah, we don't know what it is, what it falls timeline. Like in theory, it could be like Zelda dreaming, and maybe it's something that she sees potentially happening in the future, and because she does get visions.
Yep.
And that's basically why she did what she did in Breath of the Wild 1. She got the visions to go, like, I have to do this to stop Calamity Ganon. So it could be a situation where this happens again, where, she's having visions of, Ganon coming back to life, and we got to do these things to stop him. Maybe he's not the villain. Maybe it's something else that somebody's trying to resurrect him. Like, there's so many potential things that we could go. We don't know from that trailer. I know there's so much crazy speculation going on.
Yeah.
But it's because I'll be honest with you, like when I watched the original Breath of the Wild trailer and then I played the game, number one, I was a little pissed that they showed me pretty much everything during that trailer. Like all the cutscenes, all the great stuff was in there. I thought that was just the tip of the iceberg and I was going to get so much cool stuff. We didn't. That was pretty much everything there. But they made you think it was one thing, and the game was, in my mind, totally different than what they made you think the game was.
Yeah.
Because I thought that Zelda messed the world up. And then when you realize, it was like, no, she's made mistakes, but it's not that. She didn't mess the world up.
Right.
Once it all starts to play out, you go, oh, okay, this is this. It's not, in my mind, what I thought it was. Mm-hmm. So with that, I mean, it's hard to say what we saw. the other day.
Oh, that's absolutely a really good, contrary point you got to bring up. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what this is. This could be, who knows?
And the truth of the matter is that we don't know how long they've been working on the game. We don't know how far along the story is. This could have been just something that they were playing with. I mean, how many times you watch movies and they show you stuff in the trailers and those scenes aren't even in the trailers?
Yeah.
This could have been something that they were like, listen, we can't just come out and go, we're working on this game.
Yeah.
We need to actually show something, because I think they learned with Metroid Prime, if you don't show something, people are going to be like, okay, when's it going to come out? Is it going to come out? Is it going to happen? What's going to happen?
Right.
And I think that Nintendo feels like we burned people a little bit. We got burned a little bit with the Metroid Prime thing. Maybe we got to show something. And maybe what they showed really isn't anything at all. I mean, we just don't know at this point. And so speculation could be anything.
Yeah.
With it,
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's fun to go down that hole, though. Oh, it's so fun to go down that hole.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
The rabbit hole runs deep.
It's why we're doing what we're doing now, because of it. You know what I mean? Like, I love this part of it. But so you're okay, so let's back it up a little bit. Let's tie this up a little bit. Are you hoping that this does continue off of something, or are you hoping that it's fresh and Breath of the Wild just becomes its own?
I think it, for me, while it would be cool, like all of a sudden, like let's say that ties something into it, and also at the end of this game, and it connects it to like Link to the Past somehow directly, and you're like, and you're playing through parts of Link to the Past somehow. I'm just throwing that out there. That'd be amazing. I think, and for the sake of the experience, I think it would be much better if it just sits off as its own thing and kind of ignores the timelines altogether. Yeah, it's going to take inspiration that, yes, there's always been a Ganondorf and there's always been a Link and a Zelda, and they reincarnate and repeat these same patterns, but it's so convoluted. It's so messy at the same time. It might just be better if we can just, much like Marvel did with Star Wars and said, this is gone and we're doing this. It might be better for it to just sit off on in its own.
I personally would prefer that Breath of the Wild is its own thing. Like Metroid Prime is its own thing, and then like I don't believe, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that Metroid Prime doesn't really, it's not a sequel to like Super Metroid or any of that. It's kind of its own entity a little bit. But who knows? Who knows what they do here?
I mean, you can pay homage and take inspiration from the others, but
that would be pretty cool. What is your second prediction, but one?
This is probably my most basic of the list I came up with. Bobby, I want a way to freaking climb in the rain.
Oh my god!
I want a solution via an item, an upgrade. I want to be able to climb a wall when it's raining. Because how many times where you're like, okay, there's a shrine right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to get up there. And then you look, and the weather forecast is raining for the next like 12 in-game hours.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to sit there and build a fire, or you just literally, or I just go, okay, and you sit the controller down, you go get a snack or something. It's
frustrating.
It's frustrating. It kind of, if I'm just standing there waiting, it's like
even okay, so you can unlock, or you can get like a climbing outfit. You have that, and you still can't climb.
Yeah.
And it's like you get so close and you slide down, and you get so close and you slide. It's like, you gotta be kidding me, man.
Yeah.
You waste so much stamina on just trying to jump to get to where you need to be. It never fails. I'm with you, man. The minute you started to say that, I was like, yes. Because there's so many times that, like, I've come around the corner and I'm like, all right, I need to get up there. And the minute I, like, get ready, boom, it starts to drizzle. And I'm like, I can't do it. Even drizzling, you can't do anything. Yeah. The minute that
you're like, climb, and slide down.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is this is the most ridiculous thing of it all. You would think if you could climb, it'd be at the start of the ring. No, the minute the rain stops, you can climb all of a sudden. Wait a minute, the rocks aren't wet still? Like, come on. What sense does this make? The only advantage to it was when, spoilers at this point, but when you get to the Ritu and you get the ability to jump up a little bit, that helps.
That helps.
That helps a little. Because if you can get up to a point where you could jump, and then maybe you can kind of like plateau it up and jump and jump. That's
And we could still have sections where it's like a permanent storm, and then and then that prevents, because then you have to play through that scenario in a specific way the developers had in mind. But or let's throw a callback to Zelda's. All of a sudden, you get an item. Oh, what's this wand? I can summon the Song of Storms, and then the rain goes away.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. It was just a frustrating thing that I think. Give me some gear. You got that rubber suit.
Yeah.
You got the S&M rubber suit. Let me climb. Not only does it prevent lightning, but now I can. I don't know.
I'm with you. 110%.
I just want something.
Or with you,
give me give me some choo-choo jelly, and I can just rub it on my hands.
Yeah.
And it's like stick them, and I can just.
Yeah, dude. So I agree. Look, if they make it where that is some type of ability or something you unlock or something, a power up to your suit, like that would be awesome. It really would. Because what they offered with Breath of the Wild, the original, was just so frustrating. So frustrating.
It's just amazing. Like it never would fail. It's like, okay, I gotta get right. I'm just gonna climb up this couple steps, and no.
Yeah.
I can't do it right now. I can't.
Even when it's not even that high. Like the worst is one time I'm running down the hill and I'm coming to one of them skulls that is basically like a goblin camp.
Yeah.
And I'm like sneaking around and I shoot the one and I'm like, okay, I'm going to climb up it starts to rain as I shoot them. And I can't climb, and they're all coming around with these, and they're whacking me, and they would kill me within a couple of hits because they're like, I'm still early in the game and I'm not that strong.
You're like, I'm sneaky. I'm gonna climb up here. They can't get me.
Yeah, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I did not just die here because of the rain. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Okay, good lord. What is number 3, sir?
I think this one is something everyone's kind of been vocal about, so that I'm interested to see if it's popped up in your conversations or if it'll pop up in your future conversations. A little return to some more of our Zelda classic dungeon experience.
Yes, that has. Donnie brought that up.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm sure that I think any Zelda fan is going to be itching for this a little bit, and I think we have to see that. Like, I liked what the Shrines did. It was they gave it. There was more than one way to solve these. Yeah. You could exploit the game mechanics, and that was like something they kind of were hoping players, encouraging players to do. Yeah. But I don't want this in the sense of where a lot of our Zelda's like, oh, I just got the boomerang. Well, guess what? I'm going to use the boomerang to do almost 95% of this dungeon. Not so much like that. I just want more of this, more larger scale, more in-depth exploration experience that involve, multi-chamber enemies, bosses, and just that classic Zelda feel. And mix that up with what we can do inside our Breath of the Wild, the engine, the visuals, the graphics. And I think there's going to be a lot more that's going to be enticing that we'll see.
Because when you think about it, right? When you think about the shrines, there was times when you came to some shrines and they were masterful. And then there was times where it'd be like, here you go, here's the orb. Just getting here was the task. And it was like, no. And then the ones where you're fighting, I was like, no, I don't need that either. Like, I enjoyed the ones that were kind of puzzles, and it took you a little bit to figure it out. And you would get frustrated because a lot of times you weren't thinking like this is real world stuff. So I remember a couple times playing and I'm like, I got this switch and I can't figure out how to unlock it. What am I going to do? And I start dropping all my metal items on top of it. And it weighs it down. Yeah. And I'm like, it worked. Oh my God, it worked. And it was like, okay. Or you're sitting there and you're playing a shrine and it's got like the electric on the floor.
Yeah. Yep.
And I start dropping swords on the floor. I'd get electrocute myself a couple times, but like you're like, okay, this works. Like, this is pretty awesome. So that's the thing. Like, if they could find a way to, because I hate that with Zelda, where like, hey, this one, you go in, you get the hook shot, and now you're going to use the hook shot 80 times in this level, and it's going to help you to beat the boss and all that. It's like, no, man, let's not do that this time.
Yeah, it's a little too on the nose.
Yeah, like let's do a proper mix between like the boss rushes of the DLC pack where you're going level to level. There's a couple of enemies, but just like take those rooms and keep it all one level where you're going room to room to room. And then you're also throwing in the mix of like, you go into a room and there's enemies and you got to figure out how to take them out in that big open world. Because that to me was very similar to a dungeon, other than the fact it was an absolute just a boss rush. And you were just fighting. So if you basically were like, this is going to be the enemies in here, and then there's a couple puzzles mixed in. Like you go into one room or you open one door and there's this gigantic puzzle in there. And it's like, okay, boom, boom, boom. And then rather than getting the orb and leaving, you go, oh, I hit it. Now it takes me into the next chamber. And oh, now I got to fight some enemies. And here we go. You know, that would be, to me, so much better. You know?
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, though. I'm curious what you would do here. If we do implement dungeons again, how do you unlock them? What is your way of getting into them? What do you do to unlock them? And how, in that ability to unlock them, do you keep it true to form where it still holds its open world feel to it?
I say we've seen this in the trailer. Again, I'm going back to the trailer. And we don't know what this hand is that's imprisoning Ganondorf. But at one point we see Link's hand get either absorb some energy, get possessed by some sort of energy. So let's say that unlocks this ability, or grants Link the ability to open these crypts or these tombs that have been sealed in Hyrule. Yeah. You know, that's why I kind of envision in my head. You know, you put your hand up and this sigil or image on the door glows, and then the temple, you know, it opens, or it can even rise from the earth like a shrine. And then the question is to be, what would you get from them? So it have to be something that there have to be either we can't be getting trinkets or sages or things like that. You know, that's been done to death. So that would be the question of what would be the purpose of going into these, and what would be the relic that we're looking for, or the item that we're searching for. Yeah. And I think it all ties back to either what is the threat now, because, you know, is it Ganondorf? Is it still what's there? And if we tie into, you know, we see what appears to be, it looks like the castle is rising there at the end of the trailer. So that's some legitimacy. It's like, okay, maybe we have to get up to that point. So this is either giving us an ability to gift us with flight, or, well, that doesn't make sense because we got the Rito. Yeah. Rito already there, so we could fly. Yeah. So I mean, that doesn't. And we've got. I'm assuming we still have the. We still have all the beasts still around, right? The divine beasts are still there. Yeah, they're still operational, right? So,
I mean, for me, when I think about it and I go like, what's the catch? What's the thing in there? And I think about past Zelda games, you know, and I think like, you know, when you played the original Zelda, it was the Triforce, you know, and that Triforce unlocked Ganon's palace, you know. Maybe that's something similar, you know, maybe Ganon, once again with Calamity Ganon, now overtakes, because ultimately, like, Calamity Ganon was there, but it wasn't a barrier. You could just get there. Yeah. And I understand why Nintendo didn't put the barrier, because they wanted people to be like, okay, day one, oh, you want to go fight Ganon? Go knock yourself out. Like, go have fun. But for me, I feel like I'm okay if they kind of lock it down a little bit. And just go like, in this game, you're not going to be able to just go right to Ganon. Now, I know it's probably not even close to being a popular, you know, comment, because I know that there's a lot of people that be like, hey man, I loved just being able to go day one and try to take down Ganon. There were so many speedrunners, and I thought that was the most amazing thing ever, watching that stuff unfold. But for me, I think like if it was a situation where you're unlocking the Triforce again, and you're doing that stuff again. You know, and maybe the way to do it is you go like, hey, there's one of these dungeons that is the complete Triforce, a different because there's 3 Triforces. Maybe one Triforce is locked away in a secret area, so that's how the speedrunners could do it. They could get over, get this Triforce, and then go fight Ganon, or similar to the way it was in Breath of the Wild, where if you did go right to Ganon, you had to battle all the Calamity Ganons that were in the Divine Beast, and it made it harder because you had a longer battle to go through you could do that, or you turn around and you go like, okay, we're not going to do that. You get these pieces of the Triforce, and in getting the pieces of Triforce, you're actually getting armor, or you're getting weapons,
some sort of upgrade,
some type of upgrades, that make it where maybe it's something like as you get maybe it's pieces to the true Master Sword, and you get all these pieces, and then you take it to a blacksmith, and he makes a sword that's stronger and doesn't break and all that stuff. Like
that was almost something that I wanted to include. Was like I wanted an all-powerful Master Sword that doesn't break, that shows its true power.
Yeah, man, that was the most frustrating thing to me, because I was sitting there the whole time, like when weapons were breaking, I kept saying to myself, like, well, you know what? If I get the Master Sword, it shouldn't break. And at that time when I was playing, the game was still new enough that nobody knew.
Yeah.
Not that nobody I knew that was playing the game had the Master Sword, and nobody was talking about it because nobody wanted to spoil the game with each other. So everybody was really hush-hush about it. And so I'm like, the Master Sword is a sword. I go get it, and the next one, I'm fighting, and it loses power, and I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is the Master Sword, man. This is the be-all, end-all. What the hell is this thing doing? So, for me, yeah, I would love for that to be like, here you go. You're going in, and you're piecing together the Master Sword. So, the true, man, because when you think about it, like, in most Zelda games, there's different levels of swords.
Yep.
It's not just the one.
And it's mandatory.
Yes.
Like, you can't beat Ganon without the Master Sword.
Yeah.
And this, it's not. You can defeat this Ganon.
Yeah.
Climbing Ganon without the Master Sword.
Yes.
So that even gives credence to the whole thing. Was he the ultimate villain after all?
Possible. Possible, yeah. Possible, yeah.
Bobby, see, this is the rabbit holes you're bringing me back down. I love it.
I love it. Okay.
The one thing I wanted to bring up, last thing regarding the dungeons, is like take inspiration, because I think what the greatest open experience that you have in the Breath of the Wild, at least that has like a story and it feels like its own self-contained, is Eventide Island. The narrative that you can experience that playing through that section of the game for just getting, what was it, you just got a shrine out of it.
Yeah.
But that whole experience was awesome. Yeah. So just take what they've done with that and give me a dungeon experience with that type of thing, or just give me more set pieces like that, because that was it was a unique challenge.
Yeah.
You arrive, you're stripped of everything, and you got to re-equip yourself, sneak around. That was such a cool experience.
And if you remember when you played that was the most talked about, seemed to be the most favorite thing of most people when they found that island, and they were like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I don't think you're alone in that thought pattern at all. There was a few times where you hit stuff like that and it was like, this is kind of cool. The part where you lose your kind of sight because everything gets pitch black. That was pretty awesome too. Scary, hard, you know what I mean? But it was good. Okay, what is the next one you got for us, Jason?
NPC improvements. So what I'm thinking here is my ultimate goal is I would want an AI companion to fight alongside with you, that you could adventure with you. And maybe Zelda's going to take this. I mean, yes, there's a vocal presence for we want a playable Zelda.
Yes.
And I think that's an awesome idea. And I purposely didn't select that because I think that's going to be talked about, and it's going to be popular out there. But I think going back to like Wind Waker and how cool it was going to a couple of those dungeons when you had the different companions that would go in there and help you overcome specific challenges.
Yes.
And we have these set pieces already with the champions of old and the new champions that you recruited that serve no other purpose except to pilot the divine beasts. Having them, give them a purpose, having them have some action and to fight alongside you, I think would be a lot of fun. And to just build upon that, what you see with NPCs, I mean, you kind of get the same kind of hollow experience. I know we're limited in, in memory, the engine, all things like that. But I want to have a more fluid experience when I go into a town instead of just having people I know a game is limited by a game, but if I'm going to say, and I'm dreaming here, I want to have more of a life experience with my NPCs and just while it was cool at first when you would be wandering around and you'd run into a couple of travelers, it was few and far between because this is a very desolate Hyrule. Yeah. But it got very stale very fast, where it was like, okay, here's these two chicks looking for their mushrooms. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be a Yiga that's going to attack me. Yeah. This is just some person wandering. So I would like to see a little more dynamic experience there. But I'm mostly interested in. I think it'd be really cool to have someone come with you on certain. Not always, but I mean, in specific points, you'd have someone fighting alongside you in the dungeons. And maybe that could be Zelda, which I think would be awesome. Yeah. Because we do get to that typically in the end encounters, much like, spoiler, in this game, in the previous Breath of the Wild. But have her there in other sequences. Or let me bring in the prince. Let me bring in... Yeah. Let me bring in one of the Rito. I mean, it would be... I think that would be really cool. And just... make it like, I know a lot of Zelda is just, you're the chosen hero. Yeah. But sometimes it is lonely just doing it, and something to give you like something else to share the journey with. I think would at times would give us a nice contrast to the typical experience.
Yeah, it's funny because I've done 2 shows so far. You're the 3rd one that I've officially done, and in that I've had 2 different experiences. One loved being alone. And one was kind of like, I just wish that there was a little bit more than just being alone. It felt very lonesome at times. I was of the mindset that I loved being alone. I loved going out, climbing in the mountains, and just... Because what I would do is, I would just take a couple hours and go hunt everything in the mountains. And stockpile all that food. And then go to a town and just cook it all up. So this way I was set to go and just gear up and have all kinds of stuff. So that way, when I need health, I had the ability to just grab some stuff and go. For me, I enjoyed the freedom of being alone. But I think what I would ultimately like with the NPCs is better quest giving.
Yeah.
Not just fetch quest stuff. Be like, hey, there's a guy in this town that is bullying everybody, and we don't know what to do. We don't know how to stop it, and we've all left the town, because he just beats up people and picks on people. And then you can make that decision. Do you want to go take this guy down and straighten it out, or do you just, whatever, go fend for yourselves, and that type of thing. And I would enjoy that so much if they gave us the ability to kind of do side quests that weren't just a lot of fetch quest stuff. Like, I found myself not really doing side quests that much because
there wasn't a lot to it. Yeah, they're one-offs and the reward is minimal.
Yeah, like, go take pictures of this, and I'm like, really, man? That's true. You would go take pictures? No, I got better stuff to do than this, man. Like, no, and I wouldn't I would just avoid stuff like that. I was like, you're not really going to give me anything anyway. Or they give you a couple of rupees, or they give you something stupid, like a piece of fruit, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, a spice or something. Like, no. Like, make it where stuff means something. Like, you're going to go do this mission, you're going to get something good for it. Like, you're going to go do this mission, and maybe you're going to get a new piece of gear that's, like, maybe more powerful, or whatever it might be. Like, something that's going to help protect you, or whatever, So, so that would be pretty awesome for me.
Yeah, I think it depends too, like what direction, I think Link's always going to be the type of character he is, because by having him being a solitary figure, it allows you, I think, more of the player to simulate and put your own persona onto him, whereas if he's in a group all the time, or especially let's say if we turned in Link into actually a full-fledged character that had dialogue and things of that nature, that. So there's different directions with that too. But I think it's going to help make the world feel more alive, and maybe that's something we see, because, like, let's face it, like, for the most part we have just the race specific areas, and maybe now that Hyrule has been saved, maybe we'll start seeing areas, if this is a continuation and it's set place after the events, maybe there's places that are being rebuilt now that the threat of Ganon is gone. Yeah. And some civilization is being returned, and what were villages are now smaller cities. Yeah. I think it'd be nice to see something like that again. And that kind of goes into my last idea, I want to be able to have my own shop. So I'm kind of taking some inspiration from Moonlighter here, because at first I thought it was kind of a hindrance, but because the problem I would run into in Zelda sometimes, for like the little bit of the journey is until I learned the world, I was short on rupees a lot, especially when I wanted to get armor or arrows.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the funds, and it wasn't because literally I would have a rotation. Once I had enough items and armor, I would farm taluses, and I had them all marked on my map, and I would just go into rotation and just kill those rocks and get all of the gems, and then just sell them, and just repeat that.
And that's what I would do.
So my idea was, like, let's say Kakariko Village is, we have that settlement, or maybe you can pick any other ones in there, and maybe it's going to be a set one. And I think that worked best. It had a set village there. Instead of buying a house, now there's a storefront that you can buy.
Oh boy!
So you buy the storefront, and now you can find unique items on your journey, or just the monster junk you build up. You can plop it down in the shop, set a price, and people would buy it. And there's this economy type of management that's going on the sidetrack that gives you money, but at the same time, I thought that'd be nice to tie it into is there'd be we'd bring back the trade sequence quests from other Zelda games, and it would tie into this shop because you'd have to get some item only through the shop that would lead into the trade sequence to unlock whatever. So I think that this would this would fill the void of what we did in Terrytown, or what we did just having your own house and something to work for. But I think it'd be kind of really unique way to, I don't know, for me, I guess it's more of building the world and letting you experience, like, one of the greatest thoughts, one of the most reasons I was excited for like World of Warcraft when it first came out was when I was heard that you could be, you had professions that you could take out. I was like, oh, I could have a shop, because I had visions of me and my buddy playing it. We'd both be dwarves and blacksmiths, and you're forging stuff and selling it. I think that would be such a cool experience. So it's like some of that. I think I apparently that's what I want more on the Zelda is not just the cooking in that, but I would like some crafting and be able to forge weapons and be able to sell. I don't know. I don't know how it would work, but I think it'd just be an interesting way for you to generate income inside of Zelda, besides just farming and selling to a vendor.
Maybe it's something that's similar to Animal Crossing. In Animal Crossing New Leaf, you could either go sell the items to the shopkeeper.
Yep.
Or you could go to their kind of yard sale type thing, post the items, and sell it at a higher rate. But it couldn't be too high. It had to be like a certain percentage. And maybe it's something where you could go in, you set up your shop, and maybe the trade-off is you don't get the money right away. You might not get the money for like an hour. But you'll get a higher value than you would if you just walked into the shop and sold it. So it's one of those things where if you quasi-farmed things, you would go out, get items, put them in your store, and then go out and play the game. And as you're playing the game, you're steady getting revenue, and you're constantly like, maybe it's something where it's like every 20 minutes of playtime, you get 200 rupee, whatever it might be, like whatever your items are selling,
Yeah, much like the Fable series, you could own properties and you were generating income. Even when you weren't playing the game, it would generate on the game clock, and you come back in, all of a sudden, boom, your coffers are filled with coins.
It'd be kind of cool to have something like that. I mean,
something like that. It had to be balanced, right? Because you don't want to. Because I think eventually it is a struggle with Zelda, but then once you get to a point, I think we've seen this in all Zelda games. You get to a point and rupees are useless.
Yeah.
You've amassed so much, or you have everything, or there's no point. So
I mean, I like the fact that the pockets just kind of went, like it just filled and filled and filled. Mm-hmm. It wasn't one of those things where it was like, hey, you got to go get a bigger bag.
No, I don't want that. I don't want that at all.
I hated that nonsense. That was so. I liked what they did with this. I kind of liked what they did with this on many aspects of, like, even getting food. Like, they never were like, here's a cap on how much stuff you can get. You could just go and get stuff and just keep getting and getting and getting. And then, that to me made the game a little better, ultimately.
Yeah.
So at this point, you're tapped, right? You got nothing else?
I had a couple like side ones that weren't as full fledged out. We kind of touched on already, like playing a Zelda, the fully powered Master Soul, and we kind of actually touched on my other point was we improved side quests.
Yeah.
So that's my other kind of.
So I want to throw this at you just before we wrap up, because I've been asking everybody this, and I'm just curious because I think this is kind of something that everybody will have a different answer or whatever. When do you want Breath of the Wild, or when do you want it? When do you think it actually launches?
When I would want it?
Well, I mean, obviously now.
Yeah, Q4 of 2020. But man, it depends on how much the rumors we believe, how fast they're in development, how much of are they. I mean, from what we can tell, it's the same engine.
Yeah.
I mean, Inuma said that the reason this game exists is because they had all these ideas with DLC that were too much. They couldn't fit it, and they wanted to continue with this Hyrule. But I don't know. The realist to me, I feel like it's got to be 2021. Because I mean, look how many times Breath of the Wild was delayed.
Yeah.
And I don't like. I would love to see it in 2020.
Yeah.
I
mean, let's get realistic here. So Breath of the Wild was delayed a lot of the times because the world wasn't filled. And they were delaying the game to take the time to fill the world and flesh it out and basically get it out there so that way you did run across people traveling. And so in theory, the hard parts in theory are done.
Right.
The world is built.
The engine's built, the world,
built, the assets are built.
I
mean, you're going to fine tune it, which if you've looked at comparison video that I've seen already, like it looks much better than the original. Like the shading and the lighting and stuff, they've actually improved it. But so with that part, like I feel like the hardest parts are out. Now, when you look at the timeline between Ocarina and Majora, that was a year.
Right.
But let's be fair, Majora, other than the fact that it took the assets, it was not a sequel. It wasn't a direct sequel. It was more or less like, here's a side story.
Yeah, this is what happened when Link went back and he was still a child. Yeah.
So it wasn't really, more or less, it wasn't like, hey, we're going to do this all over again. We're going to change up things. We're going to do things differently. It was kind of like a more contained. Basically, because you were playing with the clock, and everything ran in a 3-day cycle. Yeah. Where this is going to be a proper sequel. So depending on what they add, I mean, who knows? They might not add anything. They might just go like, okay, we're just going to put in new shrines, or whatever they're going to do. You know what I mean? Like, we don't necessarily know what exactly their game plan is with this. So that being said, I think 2020 is possible because I believe that 2020 was going to originally be like the DLC. Because my predictions on a lot of stuff was we're going to get a big media expansion pack in 2020. They're going to announce it at E3 and then we're going to get it in 2020. So when I saw, my first reaction is, oh my god, it's DLC.
Yeah,
here it comes.
I'm right there with you. That's what I thought. We're getting our story-based DLC, continuing to explore Hyrule.
Yes. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom, no it's not, it's this. And I was like, what? I didn't see this coming. Like, what's going on? And so my theory or my thought pattern is, we know that they have multiple Zelda teams. In the past, they always had the home console team and they had the handheld team. Now, you could assume that the handheld team is doing Link's Awakening, but that game's done. And we don't really know, was that actually the handheld team working on that, or was that another developer?
Yeah. And how much was Grezzo working on
it? Exactly. How much did Grezzo do, and what did they actually work on and work it out? Because Grezzo does a lot of their ports, and on the 3DS they did a lot of ports. Yep. So, with that being said, Monolith Soft we know is working on this one. So if the A team, I'm just calling it A team just because of whatever, but A team, B team, A team being home consoles, B team being handheld. If the A team is kind of going off and doing whatever proper sequel it's going to be, and then Monolith is working with part of the B team to do this, like, how long does it take? You know what I mean? Like, it's
right.
There's so many unanswered questions here because we don't know exactly what team is working on it and what the other people. You would think that they're working on a proper next game, unless they're just wrapped up in this world and are like, you know what, you guys got another year to just work on this and get it done. But if they were working on DLC stuff, and they were just like, hey, we want to not just waste this and blow our load on this. Let's just take it and improve it and expand it and do what we're going to do. I just think that, like, if it's a true sequel, it's going to take some time to flush that story out. It's not going to be just snap your fingers and, like, here's a sequel. You got to put the story in there. You got to do the voice acting. You got to do, like... So my feeling is although I would want it 2020... and I think the DLC was probably geared to go 2020. I think in reality, we're looking 2021, possibly 2022.
I just don't see, like, game development. I think it just doesn't. I don't think we can do that quick turnaround.
Yeah,
like the idea with the 64. I'm like, look at a game that does games that do get pushed out quickly, like Anthem.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
No.
And I think look what Nintendo's doing with Animal Crossing. They're not gonna rush. They're gonna take into their employees' well-being into consideration. They're not gonna crunch. They're gonna.
Let me ask you a question. Do you really believe that?
I don't know. To an extent.
I think it has turned into something that they say to get the audience off their backs.
I mean, because look what Sakurai does.
Thank you.
I mean, so I guess that's your good argument. That's your good counter argument because that dude
sits there and actually goes to work with an IV in his arm. So
I haven't slept in 12 days.
Yeah, like come on, man.
That's very true.
I don't believe it. I think that was just a PR thing to kind of make them look good and to get people to not be mad. Because the minute that he said that, people are like, okay, I'm okay with the I just think that they took advantage of the situation.
Well, let's put it this way then. They're not going to ship a game and just say, well, we can put a day one patch in there.
No,
they're not going to do that.
That's never going to happen.
So they'll delay it or push it or set it up on a timeline where they know that they can hit it.
Let me ask you a question then. What is, in your mind, okay for a launch? Like, in your mind, if Nintendo says, this date is the date, how far out is it that it becomes not okay for you?
I think 2022 is too far.
Do you really?
I think so. I mean, especially because we've got this next year is going to be pretty interesting with the new PlayStation coming out, the new Xbox coming, what they're doing with xCloud. We got Stadia coming. All this with what streaming. We've got all this more powerful hardware coming.
Yeah, and
we've got the Switch still being the Switch, delivering a fantastic experience, but the competition is doing something drastically different. I know Nintendo's always been we're not paying anything with it. We're just doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think 2022 is too far. I mean, you got to maybe that's me being selfish. And probably it could be a little bit.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We don't know. And that being said, like, we don't know what their 2020, their 2021 lineup is.
Right. I mean, if we had an idea of where Metroid was at, that could kind of give us an idea because we could know something that's scrapped and had to be restarted. Yeah,
didn't Retro just put up a thing where they were hiring an art director?
Yeah, I think something like
that. They're way behind.
But remember, we only didn't talk about Metroid because we wanted people to focus on Luigi's Mansion.
You know what? Don't even get me started. Don't get me started. I think I kind of agree with you. 2022 is a little too far. But in my mind, I'm thinking 2020 to me is out. If they put it out in 2020, I will be floored. that it comes in 2020. Because I'm thinking the problem where I can't wrap my head around is we know that AAA game development is 5 years typically. It takes about 5 years to make a game. So, and we know that they didn't start this the minute that Breath of the Wild ended. If that was the case, then I would say, okay, they're about 3 years in. So yeah, it could happen in 2020.
DLC.
Yes.
And they're like, this is too much. So what? And when did they start doing the DLC? We don't even know when.
We don't know if they did it like right at the jump, or was this something that they did after the last DLC stuff came out? Like, did they start it then, or was this like there's so many unanswered questions. But I think I really feel like 2021 is probably going to be when it hits, and I think if it is 2022, it's very early in 2022. Like, it's March. Like, it's going to be early. It's not going to be later in the year.
Yeah.
I think it also, like you said, it also depends on what's happening with the other guys. Like, Stadia, I think Nintendo looks at them and goes, that's not competition. I really believe that Nintendo feels that's not competition. Xbox and Sony, I think they look at them, and even though Nintendo will say to you, that's not really our competition,
right?
I think they look at them and go, we got to pay attention to what they're doing a little bit, because if they start to steal Nintendo's momentum, Nintendo's going to have to do something to bring it back. And a game like Breath of the Wild could yank the chains on people to go like, hey man, you're over there playing those things, and they have nothing on them. Because let's be honest, they're not, well, Sony might have looked at, if anybody's going to copycat Nintendo, it's Sony. So if anybody's going to look at the launch that Nintendo pulled off with the Switch and go like, okay, we need to move Last of Us 2 over to PS5, and we need to have this game ready for PS5. And there's a lot of games, like, they've stopped talking, which tells me they've moved a lot of games over so they could kind of, if Sony comes out year one and pulls off what Nintendo did, where every single month it's a major first-party exclusive, Nintendo better strap it in, because they're in trouble. Like, they need to do something quick. Xbox, there is no way Xbox is doing that. Like, they are, I just feel like they're in developer hell with a lot of their stuff. Just because they're hiring studios, or they're buying studios, or bringing them in, but I don't feel like there's much. And they're so wishy-washy in terms of, like, keeping things exclusive that does it really matter? You know what I mean? Like, what they announce. So I feel like Nintendo kind of feels like, okay, we've done some damage to Microsoft. Stadia is not a competition. Sony's our competition, and let's see what they do. So, with that being said, I feel like if we get hit in 2021, it'll be late 2021. And if we do 2022, it's going to be early 2022. Yeah. But I think, let's be honest, if we're being honest with ourselves, Scarlet and PS5 is probably going to hit holiday 2020. If that's the case, then if Nintendo, I'll be honest with you, if Nintendo comes out in March of 2021 with a powerful Switch and Breath of the Wild, I think they're going to be able to get back into the race and do something. Because their biggest issue is trying to keep it parallel with what the third parties are doing. If they can do something where their games are almost PS4 caliber, they're gonna keep the momentum going. In my mind, they only have to stay one life cycle behind the competition. Yeah.
Because we've shown that games can be scaled, and that'll function. But we can't do 2 steps down.
No, it's trouble.
I mean, because then you're going to lose. I mean,
a lot.
We've gained so much third-party support that we haven't had.
Yeah,
and you lose that because it's just going to be the sacrifices that would have to be made to.
I mean, I know Nintendo doesn't want to get into the arms race, but they also don't want to get into this situation.
God, how awesome would it be if they did, though?
I know, you know, but like, how awesome would it be to play Breath of the Wild in 4K? I'd lose my mind, dude. I'd lose my mind. But who knows? We don't know where the Switch Pro pops in to the mix. Right now, everybody's talking Switch Mini, and I think that makes a lot of sense because you want to get multiple units out there in people's hands. But there is a Switch Pro lurking, And for me, that's the one that goes, here it is, boom, more bang for your buck, and this thing is super powerful. And maybe it is a situation where it runs 4K docked and 1080 handheld. Like, if it does that, they're in good position. They're in really good position. Because as much as we're talking cloud, we're getting way off on a tangent. As much as we're talking cloud-based at this point with Nintendo and all these guys and what they're doing, they have the issue of, you can go out and you could play, on your tablet, but if your tablet's not hooked to the internet, you're not getting it, or you could go play on your cell phone, but like, I don't know that I want to play on it. I don't know that I want to play like a big, meaty game on this little thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I want something that's, anyway, tangent is over. Sorry, people. Jason, thank you for joining me here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for the invite.
Absolute blast. And you had some great topics or great ideas that were...
I had some experience with a show once that talked about bringing interesting topics and talking about them.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was fired, so I mean...
Oh, could you... You know what? Stop it. If you were better, I would have...
Oh, that's... I can't argue. Okay. You got me there. You got me.
Let people know where they can find you at and all that good stuff.
I am on the Twitterverse. You can find me there, JW Lacy. I also have another podcast that I do myself, Fluxtaposed. We're on there too at Fluxtaposed. Me and my buddy Lucas do all our things, and I'm in Bobby's Discord. I'm active there.
Yes, sir.
I got moderator powers.
Yes, you do.
You want an emoji? Slip me $5. I'll make it happen.
Oh, we're not doing that. Don't get crazy there. For me, you can follow me Instagram, Twitter at Nintendo Gurus. That is all. Peace out, Preston.